Hi everybody! I'm going to go ahead and play Pillars of Eternity, play for maybe half an hour so show you what the game's all about. This is a lot like the old games Baldur's Gate, and, oh god, what was the other one? There was Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights, which wasn't as good. This actually captured the essence of what made Baldur's Gate and a little bit of Icewind Dale so great. It's a game that was made by Kickstarter, which unfortunately I didn't get to show you that at the beginning of the video because it didn't start recording in time. But 77,000 backers backed this game. I wouldn't even own this game if I didn't have a gift card given to me for my work, so something I wouldn't have earned through regular pay. I wouldn't have bought it because it's $45. It's $45 for this game. And it's backed by Kickstarter, so keep that in mind. It's not like they rely on sales to fund the game. The game is funded. It was made off of Kickstarter. So I was initially pretty wary about it, plus it's an Obsidian game, and people have a lot of opinions about them. I don't really have a lot of opinions about them, except they usually have game-breaking bugs in their game, and guess what? This one does too, but I ended up fixing it, and it's a good thing too, because as it turns out, this game is incredibly addicting, and a really good port of a very good old idea, which is, that whole top-down isometric RPG from the Baldur's Gate days. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and start a game up for you since it's already been 2 minutes, and all I have done is shown you the beginning, just the title screen. So we're going to start with a new one. I'm going to go for normal, and we'll make a character really quickly. It is very much like D&D, but it takes from another world entirely. They've made their own IP. And they use a lot of the same stats, but some of them are very different. And you'll see that in just a couple seconds. There is no charisma stat, for instance. There's resolve, and every stat actually plays off of something in a conversation at some point. Even strength. For intimidation, of course. But dexterity does, weirdly enough. Athletics does, which is actually not even a stat, it's a skill.
Five wagons grope blindly for the path on a starless night, their master glancing ever upward to the skies for assurance that he is on the right course. A dim lantern his only protection against the encroaching.
I swear they must have got a Baldwin to narrate this.
But the skies bring no comfort, shining no light, betraying no hint of what they know. The caravan carries travelers bound for the frontier hamlet of Wounded Vale, you among them, where a local lord has offered land and wealth to settlers from abroad looking for a fresh start.
Okay, so anyway.
You have taken suddenly ill, sweating and shivering, and one of the other travelers signals for the caravan master to stop on your behalf. He pulls up just in time to avoid plowing into the trunk of a fallen tree that bars the way ahead. You will go no further tonight.
So that's the setup. Now you make your character. I am actually going to make this very quick. As quickly as I possibly can. So you can do male or female. Human. Amua, that's how I'm going to pronounce it, and there's actually multiple iterations of every one of these races. So Amua, who are basically your big fighty kind of guys, they get +2 to might. Dwarves, or dwarfs, they get +2 to might, -1 to dex, and +1 to con. And they look like dwarves, which is kind of nice. They don't look too ridiculous. Elves, of which there are 2 different types, wood elves and ice elves, or white elves, pale elves. Anyway, they're from the north. They live in snow. Dwarves have another, they're called boreal, and there's one that's mountain and boreal dwarves. There's 2 different dwarves. They have their different stats and all that. And you've got Orlan, which are your basic halflings, or Kender. I think they're called Kith. They very much reminds me of Darkest Sun, or one of those weird D&D offshoots that I used to play, but I can't remember off the top of my head which one they were exactly. And this, of course, is godlike, and godlike are basically individuals who had some kind of, divine blood in their system when they were born, and they have a deformity of some kind. Like this guy's got some weird horns growing out of his head. because he's like a death god type of guy. Oh, I think what I'm going to do today is just make a... Yeah, I haven't really made one. I think I'm going to make a godlike. Probably going to be a... You can see they have fire. They have a moon, and they have a nature godlike. Probably going to have to edit that part out. Anyway, so you've got your death godlike who gets, more damage to anybody who's below 25% endurance. You have your fire godlike who, when he's below 50%, he does damage to the people hitting him. And then also gains, I think he gains some endurance. No, he gains some damage reduction, so he gets hit for less, which is really nice. The moon godlike, every 25%, so 75%, 50, and 25%, he lets off like a healing wave and heals everybody's endurance up a little bit. And then nature godlike just gets buffs to con, dex, might, and endurance, or just might, con, and dex whenever his endurance drops below 50%. And I'll explain what endurance means in just a second. Anyway, I'm going to start with a fire godlike. Go to the next. And you can change what they look like, because it could be anybody who got touched by a god, not just humans. I'm going to go with humans, though, because I think they look cool. There we go. Yeah, man, we'll go for him. He's huge. Let's go for that. Alright, and I'm probably going to go ahead and pick a barbarian. Why? Because barbarians are awesome. You've got, of course, barbarian chanter, which is your basic bard cipher, which I'm trying to think. They're probably something like psionics. A psionicist or something from D&D. Somebody who uses their mind, essentially, to beat the heck out of people, and that's your spells, quote-unquote. But in this game, it really ends up being soul power. Kind of how they define it. Give me a second. And we also have a closed window. We have druids. You know what those are if you've played any of these games before. Shape-shifting and healing spells and buffing spells and damage spells. They're actually not too bad, but they're really not tanky enough to be played as a melee character. I highly recommend getting some kind of a bow or something right off the bat. Only bring them into melee when you absolutely must. Their spells are more valuable when they're alive. Fighters are incredibly tanky. They continually refresh endurance, or regen endurance, which is, like I said, I'll explain that in a second, but that's really good. However, they don't really hit that hard. You really have to work really hard to hit hard as a fighter. It means things don't die very quickly. It usually means that most of your fights are going to be long and boring if you're just a fighter, which is why barbarians are a lot more fun. Now, monks are insane. They're really kind of weak. They can hit pretty hard, but they are the hardest hitting class I have played so far, and I've played all of them. Even the wizard and the priest and the rogue, I've played all of them. Because this game actually has a lot of replayability, even though it's the same storyline every time. You can do things in a slightly different way. You can build things up differently. So there is a lot of replayability, not the first 30 minutes so much, but the rest of the game for sure. Okay, I'm going to hurry this along. So we got paladins, we got priests. I'm pretty familiar with those, I'm sure. Rangers, which actually the cool thing about rangers in this game is they automatically get a animal companion right off the bat. So you actually end up with a party of 2 when it's just you, instead of a party of 1 when it's just you, which is kind of nice, because they do tank pretty well. At least the bear one does very well. The wolf doesn't tank very well, but does a decent amount of damage. Rogues, as you would think, basically your melee backstabbers, but they do a lot of mechanics work too, so they pick a lot of locks, and they find a lot of traps, and they're pretty good at stealth. The stealth mechanics are a little weird. You can't backstab people, at least not that I've been able to figure out so far. It's all ranged. That's the only way sneak attacks seem to work. I must be missing something. So I haven't had a lot of fun with the rogue, even though I do like them as a class generally. My first guy didn't work out too well. It just wasn't very efficient. And finally, wizards, which is, self-explanatory. You have spells, you have a scepter or a staff. You can wear whatever you want. You generally want to be away from the front lines as much as possible. Today, we are going to start with, as I said, a barbarian. Alright, now you have Frenzy, and you have Barbaric Yell. Frenzy just basically gives you, plus 4 might, plus 4 con, 33% more attack speed. You get negative 10 to deflection, health, and endurance concealed for 12 seconds. It means you can't tell what kind of state this person's in. They might die at any moment. So you really can't heal them, spot heal them because they're going to be dying. You just have to kind of trust that they can live through the Frenzy. Frenzy's really good, though. I mean, we've got Barbaric Yell, basically causes fear in an AoE. Still a pretty good Barbarian ability. I'm going to go for Frenzy, though. It's the one I have the most experience with, so I'm going for that. Alright, and of course, your stats screen, just like any D&D game, except this is not, again, a D&D game. You have Might instead of Strength, Con, Dex, Perception, Intellect, and Resolve. So we don't have Willpower, we don't have Charisma, we have Perception, and we have Resolve. So they did change things enough so that it's not the same game. However, it does play practically identically to Baldur's Gate and the rest of those games. Luckily, those games I'm just hoping that nobody sues anybody over anything, because I think it's the same company. It's been a while. But anyway, going to increase Might to the max. Probably increase Con to the max too, just for giggles and shits. Yeah, it's not too bad. I like having more dexterity on a barbarian, especially one with 2 weapons, only because it does actually affect attack speed, as you can see in the bottom right there. Action speed is up by 6%. If you're an elf, you actually do move faster and attack faster. It's kind of nice. But I really do want to actually be able to survive fights and hit hard. So here we go. You get to choose where you're from, what part of the world you actually are from, and that mostly affects your backstory. It also affects at least one stat. You can see that's Perception, Might, Constitution, Intellect, Resolve, Dexterity, and I think the top one is Resolve again, which I think is the same as... There we go. So these two have the same stat, but different starting gear. So you get actually different armor. This is hide armor, if that wasn't obvious. That's clearly hide armor, and this is leather armor. You can actually go down to that and get mail armor. I'm pretty sure I saw, scale armor. So you can actually start with like a greatsword and scale armor, or you can start with that, hide armor and basically a greatsword. But I kind of like having a might bonus, so I'm probably going to go for the Living Lands. Yep. So you can choose also what your background is. You can be a colonist, a drifter, explorer, hunter, etc., etc., etc. And they also give their own bonuses. My favorite one was Hunter, because it gave me stealth and survival, but for this guy I'm probably just going to go for something with athletics. Labor, or... probably go for labor. Makes more sense. Mechanics are more useful, to me anyway, than lore, knowing what I know about the game. So, mechanics is for picking locks, lore is for using scrolls. I really don't use that many scrolls in this game. At least not on normal, anyway. So, primary. Red. Sure. That's fine. And in the head, you have only 3 options. That's it. I mean, they're still really cool looking. But that's all you get. You don't get anything else. Now, I mean, for the other races, of course you do. You get a lot more choices than just this. But for this one, it's pretty limited. And there's a good reason for that. I mean, they had to put in a lot of effects, and I'm sure they didn't want to have to keep spending money on just making it look cool, which it still does. It looks really cool. Now, this is one thing I wish they had done something about. There's really not a lot of portraits. If your guy doesn't look like that and he's a death god, then you're SOL. If he doesn't look like this, I kind of hope he does or doesn't, I'm not sure. Then you're SOL again, and it's the same for like dwarves and stuff. They all look different, and usually the portraits just don't really match up, which is kind of a nitpicky issue. It still drives me nuts. Alright, then you have this. You have Sinister voice.
Well, now I am the leader of the group.
And I like pretty much all of these. The only one I don't like is it's not actually a male one, it's a female one.
Quickly and quietly. I've got this. Quickly and quietly.
Click on it.
I've got this.
If you heard her S, that comes out as really, really staticky to me, which is ironic for me being on this particular mic. But it's really, really annoying to hear. So I've never picked female feisty on any of my female characters yet. Even though I like the voice, I think the recording style probably could have been messed with quite a bit. Kind of worked with that to not have that S come out so strongly in all of her recordings. And that's the only one out of all of them that I have a complaint about. Anyway, alright, that's it. That's the character creation. That took me about 10 minutes because I was talking a bunch. Probably could have got through that a lot quicker. I really like the way the game looks too. The game world is very nice. I'm going to skip through this as quickly as possible so people don't see this.
They grow on a book. Of course, all got different. And not this time. They don't. Hold up. Off with you. Aiden should have supplies.
Let's get going
See
before you
that you're
keel
equipped
over.
before you head out. We're in harsh country.
Alright,
Get your
so,
berries and hurry back.
to sum up,
If you get so much as a tickle of wind, you drop everything and you run.
Anyone need
Something
supplies?
in the air tonight.
I've got sundries for sale.
Sabiwick, we'll shelter in the ruins. Hut dwellers be damned.
so to sum up, basically, I have to go find some berries because I'm sick, and the berries will make me not sick anymore.
Brought a hoe. Say, is there anything
They
you
want me to
need?
go talk to this guy to
I've
get
got
some supplies
basic
before I head
traveling
out.
supplies for sale if you'd like to take a look.
Sure, let's see what you've got. First,
I'm a trader. Something else you need? It's not as big as it used because it's.
so there's actually voice acting for pretty much everything that goes on here, which is kind of cool. But you can actually go ahead and buy something right off the bat. I mean, I'm in scale armor right now with Greatsword, but you can buy any of this stuff if you want. So even if you get a character that you just want that bonus from whatever land you come from, but you don't like the armor, and you want to use something else like plate armor, if you can afford that, or just some better armor. Like if you end up with hides and you want to wear Brigandine, you just need 300 copper for that. It's just, I know, you start out with only 100, which is off here on the right. But you can at least change your weapons. That's affordable and easy. So if you end up with a chanter or something with a greatsword and you don't want to be in the front lines, you could just go ahead and buy a crossbow or a bow. They're not expensive enough that it'll break your character right off the bat. I'm actually not going to buy anything. I'm just going to go do this. I can't stress enough how nice the graphics look. The graphics are pretty awesome. So there's that guy who's supposed to go get us
We'll
water.
have your water soon enough. Stream's not going anywhere.
Okay. You can actually gather stuff. Like that's a plant, obviously. But you can use it for crafting later on. I actually sold a humongous amount of that stuff on
Let's check by those outcroppings.
one of my characters, and turned out that wasn't a good idea because actually I needed all of it to craft stuff. So it'll generally pause the game right before you actually start fighting, which is really useful because if you forget or if you get caught by surprise, you'll have a moment to adjust. So you have to click on your guy to get to change weapons and to activate abilities. I'm going to activate his frenzy.
What you need?
I'm going to use her knockdown to go knock down that wolf.
No good.
And so that ability of his gets activated every time there's a battle. I get one of those per battle. But right now, I think later on I got more.
This is it.
Again, I'd love to play this a little bit more fully. But I'm just kind of giving you guys a very short view of what it looks like. So you can choose any one of these. I could say as a blacksmith. I could say I made my living as a builder. I could say I was a cook. I can cook in real life decently, but I'm not comfortable with saying I'm good in the game. I don't know why. So then you have to explain your backstory, which I always thought was really cool with these kind of games. It gives you a lot of... It makes you feel like you're included in the character's story. Like, that person is you role-playing. That's a role-playing game. It's a little bit different from RPGs, which are like MMOs, or which claim to be RPGs but really aren't, or they have RPG elements, quote-unquote, which are basically just stats and trees of skills and stuff. I prefer that what I tell people as my story actually has an effect on the game world. And every once in a while, you'll actually say something and it does have an effect in the game world. I'm not going to spoil anything, but, you know, when somebody dies or somebody, like, leaves the party or something because you said something, it, you know, tends to have an effect on how you play. Plus, it's more fun to find out what the effects of actually being an evil little shit or a really awesome person are, you know, as opposed to just either way it's going to be the same game, same playthrough. Aha! My business partner ran off with my money and went into business for himself. All the people I thought were loyal had different ideas. Yep. That sounds awesome. It's a hard offer to pass up. Coming out here to settle in new lands for basically free. There couldn't be a catch. Getting filthy rich. Not this guy. So, now I'm asking her questions. Why are you here? She's here to see her sister. Tell me about yourself. Blah blah blah. Can you tell me about the place? Alright, let's get back to camp. Good. I could totally read that out loud. I'm not going to. I'm a jerk. There's another little feature in this game right down here next to the big round thing. It says double speed. It makes the game go faster. If you click it again, it goes back to normal speed. This is a wonderful thing for a game with a top-down isometric view because sometimes you walk around
Still waiting on
a lot. I wouldn't recommend doing that during combat, though. It does make it a little bit hard to adjust. Some combats will actually be really pause-heavy. You'll end up hitting the space bar, I mean, just an immense amount of the time. Obviously, I'm off-screen, too, a lot, because I'm trying to go places. Click on things. Alright, and then, of course, you know, you can click on things in the world, gather things just like, you know, with the plants. You can zoom in, too. You can see the details actually pretty good. Even for, I mean, you can tell these are things you can't really interact with too much. Like if I stand right on top of them, they do stand behind, one of them stands behind it, which is pretty cool, but it doesn't actually become something you interact with until you're right on top of it, for the most part, which is cool. I like the way they handle that. It means that there's a lot of detail and you can still interact with it pretty well, which I think is pretty novel way of doing that.
What a surprise. Sparfle went hunting. At least he left the water skins. Come on.
Yes. So you crouch at the riverbank and dip your water skins into the cool water while Kaliska waits nearby, keeping watch. As you rise, you notice her look up sharply towards the tree line. Out of the trees emerges Sparfle, one of the guides, barely discernible in the dim moonlight. He no longer carries his bow, and there is a strangeness to his gait. A spastic wobble in his ordinarily deft stride as he moves towards you with labored breath.
Sparfle? Are you alright?
Sparfle's toe catches a rock, and he collapses forward in a heap, the feathered shaft of an arrow planted between his shoulders, like an enemy flag. See, I could do that. I don't think I will. Maybe I will.
Ambush!
What a surprise! With dead bodies next to the stream, that was not actually that much of a surprise. I figured we were probably going to get ambushed. Even before I played it. No offense. Actually, I kind of figured it when I read the thing in the introduction about a tree across the road. I'm like, oh, this is an ambush. So you can see, I can't see his health. I can't see anything. Whereas with her, those little green bars on top, that's actually not health, that's endurance. Her health is this green bar right here on the left. You can see how her endurance went down one and then went back up because she's a warrior. So if you run out of endurance, you basically get knocked out. And after the battle's over, your endurance goes back to full. So if everybody survives, but you know a bunch of people are knocked out, then everybody's okay at the end if you're just knocked out. But if you go down to 0 with health, you either are maimed or killed. So there's two separate like health bars essentially, endurance, and then there's health. So there's really no healing skills. The only way to really heal health is to rest. But it does mean that it makes fighters incredibly tanky because they have that constant regeneration of endurance, and when they have heavy armor, they generally don't get hit for very much health. So with the right placement, you can put fighters in the front and they take most of the hits. We could go ahead and frenzy. You generally will hit faster and a lot harder when I frenzy, so that's why I usually do it when I remember to do it. Okay. Ooh, I like those hatchets. Probably shouldn't wear it for this fight, though. Trying not to cheat it, but... Also, you do have a stash, so all this stuff can go in the stash immediately. And as far as I can tell, the stash has no upward limit. You can just keep throwing things in there endlessly. I have like 3 pages worth of armor at some point with one of my characters. Just armor from a keep. I just killed everybody, so I didn't mean to. Just one of the bugs in the game caused me to have to reload everything, so I had to do it. I didn't have to do it, I guess. I could have just gone back and done the same amount of work. Any case, lots of armor, 3 pages of it, no encumbrance, pretty cool. It's like having a bag of holding right to start you off. Alright, a handful of dark figures stands above the fallen, treading on limbs and backs of heads, jerking their axes from bodies as if from half-split logs as they prepare to add you to the sprawling pile beneath them. Lay down your arms, trespasser. Do not forfeit this man's life for a fight you will lose. And then you get to choose. How do you want to say? What do you want to say? We have not trespassed. Your words carry no weight. When I have seen the truth with my own eyes, blood must be paid for this intrusion. So I say again, lay down your arms. Okay, so I can do all sorts of weird things now. Don't trust them, they mean to kill us all. That's the kid in front of him. Okay, so I can either say, only a fool attacks a weak enemy while a stronger one yet lives. I can rush the man before he can react. I can put down my weapons and say, very well, let him go. Stay armed. If I put down my weapons, we're all dead. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here also that could have happened, like resolve, intellect, perception, and intellect 15. All of these things would have contributed to the conversation going another direction. I am going to pick number 6. The surprising speed catches the man off guard. He hurls Hayden out of the way in hopes of buying himself time to defend your charge. Okay. First things first. Yeah. Fury. Knock. No. Knock that guy down. And when he gets back up off his butt, blind that guy. Oops. Pause the choice. Alright. And now he's getting all beat up, so I'm going to run. Now, when you run, you do get hit usually once. It's called disengagement. When you do run, they usually get like a free hit on you. So you have to keep running until they decide to start hitting somebody else. Also, your guy will stop and try and fight. It's a roll. It's the way the game is meant to be, by the way. So it can be really annoying, but it's less annoying when you realize that they're trying to keep you from kiting too much without the right stats, without the right equipment. Like a tank shouldn't be able to kite, you know. A tank should have to stick into the fight and stay until the end. Okay, so just to run you through again, with his dying breath, he heard somebody say, you know, you've done well, and then this Beowick, which is a wind that tears the souls from people, starts up. So we're running into the ruins to get away from it. So straining against the gale that threatens to pull you off your feet, with every step you set your hands into the worn folds of weathered rock and set about pulling yourself up the precipice. With a last burst of energy before your arms give out, you swing yourself up onto the ledge. Hayden trails behind, slowed by injury and delayed by early hesitation. As he nears the face of the rocks, one of the fallen attackers who have been feigning death lunges for Hayden and topples him onto the rocky ground. Restrained, Hayden lashes against his fatigued assailant, but struggles to break his hold. They are close to you. Despite the wind, from your position, if you were to throw your weapon at the attacker, you'd have a good chance of hitting the mark. So I can choose to throw my weapon at the attacker, dexterity 15, which would be something else that I could have done if I had that, and then allow Hayden to break free on his own. I've never done that. I kind of feel like I should almost this time. You know what? I'm going to. Wrestling free from the attacker's grip, Hayden lands a blow that sends the assailant reeling and makes a mad dash for the ledge upon which you stand. Suddenly, as he reaches for the rock face, his body jerks back and is rigid, as though it were a bow being strung. His shrieks of pain grow panicked, abandoned of all restraint like some tethered to a stake and set aflame. A slender wisp of spectral light emerges from his back, rising out of him like smoke before separating himself and disappearing into the ether. All at once, the screams stop and Hayden is dead. Okay, so that's why I never did it. I figured that was going to happen. Alright, so there's deep resonance with the wind now. We run inside and... loading screen. That's not dramatic at all. Alright, well, we're 30 minutes in. I would love to show you the rest. I'm going to show you at least enough to show you where the game actually starts and show you the world map. So, we'll be quick about this.
That was...
incredibly quick.
We can't stay here.
Mm-hmm.
I love the stoic voice. Mm-hmm.
We have to be careful in here.
What happened out there? Windstorm.
We look
Who
for
attacked
another...
us? Why did they attack us? What about everybody else in the caravan? They're all dead. You don't seem upset about this. Maybe I just don't know. Maybe she just doesn't, yeah, maybe she's just really experienced with death. I don't know. Okay, I am going to do this, though. I'm going to go over and grab this stuff because it's important. So, I guess I threw something. I didn't throw.
Someone else has been here.
Weapons.
We should move.
So you can see that's camping supplies, really important because you need camping supplies to camp, and that's the only way you get health back. Maces and a hammer and chisel. A hammer and chisel. Hammer and chisel? Wow. Okay, that's a buckler, and then that is a torch. She's actually fighting with a torch and, like, an axe, which is pretty cool because sometimes it sets people on fire. I think that's a pretty cool way to fight. Alright, I'm going to switch over to these guys. Excuse me. And you can see that this, if you look at the thing, the actual item itself, it says speed fast, interrupt is weak, it does 10 to 15 slash damage, and it has something called interfering. And then of course this guy has his two-handed sword, slow. It's pretty strong interrupt, meaning that it adds 0.75 seconds to the cast timer, essentially. So this adds almost nothing. This adds a lot. And damage is 18 to 25 slash and pierced. So it'll choose which one is the best one for whatever target you're trying to hit. If you right-click on it, it'll give you a better idea of what's going on. Also, you can kind of figure out what interfering does. Usually. Interfering is just +5 deflection. Cool, so it actually gives me a little bit of tanking ability. Not great. I mean, deflection by itself isn't going to do me a heck of a lot of good. But, every little bit helps. I have to remember to change that too. Alright, so like I said, I'm going to try and get through this part really, really quickly. I'm going to skip over all the really cool parts that I might want to see, secrets and stuff, just for expediency's sake.
Those tiles look suspicious. Let's be
careful. Yeah, let's just avoid them, actually, because I don't want to die.
Wait, do you hear that?
I do.
Huh?
What you
Battle
need?
music. That's what I hear. Sometimes you'll get weird pathing issues too, where they just like won't attack. They'll just run around in one spot. It's pretty rare. I mean,
Sure.
it's certainly not frame breaking, but it's a little bit annoying. So, I mean, there are some problems with the with the game. Push on the wall. Push on it myself. I've got a might of 16 or higher, so it just ends up going over. You could use the hammer and chisel. The chisel and hammer. Ugh. You could use that even if your strength isn't that high. It just takes longer. Like a couple more presses of a button.
Shit.
Spoilers. So you can see his hatchets actually do hit faster, because, you know, faster than the great sword. And I can go ahead and change that from right here if I want. Just click on him. Changes to his great sword, just like that. You can do that in battle too, which is very nice. And then you go trip that guy. Cool beans. The game is sitting at a very, a very good 60, 58 frames per second. That's what's it's pretty nice actually. So it is built for a PC. It is not built for a console.
We found an exit.
Which is a relief.
Sounds like the
because
storm
it seems to
passed,
be
too.
kind of a trend lately to build things for consoles or for mobile and try to port it over to PC. My God, they never work out. I've never seen one work out really well. Every once in a while you'll get one that's okay, but nothing ever exceptional. All right. As I said, this is the fast and the gritty way of doing this. Okay. Should have probably done that first.
What you need?
Alright.
Yeah.
What you need?
Cool. That's it.
Right.
Loot. So the really fun part about this game for me so far, other than the combat, which is pretty fun, it's been kind of a puzzle game for the combat. The combat's more of a puzzle thing than it is an action thing. You press pause a lot, and positioning has a huge amount of. It has a lot to do with your positioning, whether you win or lose. Is what I'm trying to say. So, if you really want to, beat tough fights, you have to find a door to put some tanks in and put everybody else in the back so they can just fire away at the people up here, that kind of thing. And it's not always possible, so sometimes you just have to wing it or use stats and items, and you have to pull out all the stops in some fights, and this is just on normal. I hesitate to think that I could actually, play on some of the higher level difficulties, and I'm pretty experienced with these games, or at least I used to be. Very, very easy to get into, very very hard to master because you kind of need to min-max a lot of your characters and know how to build your character, to get the best character. But on a normal setting, it doesn't really matter too much. It does, but it's more you just need to know how to play. All right. Four figures stand silhouetted before an otherworldly apparatus. An ancient structure of chiseled adra and metallic veins, inscrutable and ominous and looming like a silent observer. The face of one of the figures is distantly visible.
Oathbinder, bear witness, and see this man has kept his word true to his last breath, full to his blood's last drop. Guide his soul, queen that was, and regard it among your favored. Let his life by the key be his confession. Let his death by the key be his absolution. May he walk the world ever free of the crushing weight of the book. Your brother has done his part, and you have seen the power of his contribution. I will accept no further hesitation from the rest of you. In the sight of the queen that was, will you fulfill the oath? Will you take your place beside your brother in the endless esteem of her memory that is without flaw? Step forth and be assured of the great worth of your life's course.
Well, that doesn't sound ominous at all. All of that sounds just wonderful. It looks like a cement mixer. Wow. This game is so dark. It really is. Come out of a cave where everybody you knew died. And the three guys sacrificed themselves to some crazy cement mixer. And now you're having a vision. For an instant the apparatus goes quiet and the air is still. Then, all at once, it erupts with a concussive surge. Light floods your vision, and you are knocked to the ground. Your head snaps back as you land, and pain wells up into the back of your skull, washing your last thoughts away into the black, unconscious void. You open your eyes to a different place, another time, and stand in a circular room, grand and domed, its walls lined with adra and trimmed with copper. The style is ancient, but the chamber is unweathered. At the far end, a great pillar of adra pierces the floor from below like a ragged spike, its shimmering texture giving the illusion of boundless depth. Encircling the pillar is an apparatus much like the one you have just seen, but immense and multifaceted, and intertwined, the work perhaps of a prodigious and fevered mind. Your thoughts are yours and not yours, and they seem to exist before you think them, and they are all questions, pressing questions, troubling questions, questions that must be answered, or... At the base of the pillar now, you see a man with a thick grey beard and ceremonial robe, his oily hair tucked beneath a black cowl and a strange ornamental headdress. You know this man. You're walking towards him now at a pace that is hurried while not trying to appear so. You have something you want to ask him, one question above all, and the question spits madly in your mind. I also like this game because it gives me an opportunity to narrate, and I rarely get to narrate. God, I love the sound of my own voice. No, not really. No, I don't. You awaken to find your malaise has broken, only to be replaced with something far more concerning. Faint whispers are audible at the edge of your hearing, like a ringing in your ears that does not subside. Movement flits through your periphery. When you turn to look, you see no sign of whatever it was. You find your gaze regularly darting this way and that, an involuntary paranoid tick. If this is a sickness, it may be dangerous to go without treatment for long. The figures of the machine stand frozen in place, flesh and blood replaced by cinders and ash. The man who led them is nowhere to be seen. You find Kaliska, lying prostrate, a short distance away. Blood pooled beneath her head. No breath escapes her lips. You are alone and far from help. Gilded Veil may be your last best hope of receiving treatment before things get worse. Well, you know how it is in these games, guys. If you played them, loot the corpse. Alright. So I've earned enough experience to go up a level. I will say this, it's a little bit annoying how small that little... You can barely see it probably, even with the video. It's really, really not that easy to tell you've gone up a level. And if you're not paying attention, you might go up a level and keep going, especially when you need it. So you're going to get to a point where if you play this game, you're probably going to want to check to look to make sure you've gone up a level or haven't pretty often. It'll be like a nervous tick. I had to figure out what that was for a while, and I finally realized it's somebody burning at the stake. Lovely. And that is it. Now we have the world map. And as you can see, I mean, I can't go to Gilded Veil directly. I have to go through Valenwood. And a lot of the game's going to be like that. So you're going to end up going to, like, Valenwood. It will tell you how long it's going to take to get there. In this case, 6 hours. That does become important later on when you get something that'll actually require timing. Like, days. I'm just going to make it clear. I mean, because it's going to be on the bottom of the,
ready to sleep like
of the options anyway. You do get a stronghold at some point, and the stronghold will have timed events and timed building things, and so how fast you can travel really will have an effect on things later on. So I'm just going to finish up this last bit. We're almost there. Go ahead and switch my weapons over. So you can kind of see I have to go through all this to get to the Gilded Veil, which is the town I was trying to get to before everyone effing died. I don't think I'm going to go in... whatever. You know what? I will. I'll save the stupid cook while I'm here. Now, you probably have noticed, maybe you haven't noticed, I haven't saved it once yet, so you gotta be careful when you're doing this. If you do, not to end up dying before you save. I know that seems like a pretty, it should be fairly obvious, but it's not as obvious as you think, because sometimes you forget to save, and that'll kind of suck. So you can see I lost all of that endurance, but it comes right back, but you don't regen your health. So I will go ahead and level up before I do anything else. Athletics are great for fighters, gives you endurance, you can see right there, max fatigue, combat fatigue, gain, so it gives you endurance regen too, which is why athletics are awesome. And then of course all the rest of the stuff will come into play too. Survival is pretty nice for consumable duration, so that'll help for things like food, that kind of thing. But also mostly some knowledge skill. Anyway, now it's going to ask me what do I want to do with my my level up as far as talents go. There we go. Greater Frenzy. Gives me might and constitution. I think I'll go with that. So that's a passive upgrade to my frenzy ability. It's pretty nice, actually. Remember to leave the corpse. Okay, and you can also put on helmets. I really ought to remember to do that. Keep forgetting to put all that stuff in there. Ugh. Alright, I'm not going to take this. No, I'm done. I'm done for that for now. I am going to show you. You can't put a helmet on this guy because he actually has a helmet, a head made of fire. So they're the only ones that have that slot locked. It's a good thing too, though, because honestly, none of the helmets do anything. And really, there's like one helmet I've seen with any kind of properties on it. Most of it's for looks. So I will save it first. You just hit F5 to hit quick save. And then I'm going to go up here and see if I can kill these guys. It's a young dwarf tending to the stew. He looks up, startled as he sees you approach. He drops his ladle, spattering stew across the ground. What? Get in, you dogs, and make sure our new cook don't run off. Help, please! Help me! One of the bandits gives 10 Firth a kick as they pass him, and he huddles. Okay, well, this is gonna be fun. Actually, it may not be fun. I might die. Go for him first. I'm probably getting my butt kicked right now. I can feel it. So I went ahead and fought these guys as a fighter, and this guy here in front of me, the outlaw, he kept regenning endurance so much that I actually couldn't beat him. He was actually taking not enough damage to just get knocked out. Oh man. Now he's getting hit by my effect. Yeah. I might die. That'd be funny if I did. Hey, I just need one really good hit on me. I'm knocked out. Hey, look at that. Only 9, wow, man. 9 endurance left. Good lord. That was really cool. Really close. So you can choose where the stuff goes to. I can choose my guy or that. I'm probably going to choose that because that makes more sense. I always forget, up to about this point to do that. As I said, I played this a few times. So talk to this guy.
Gods keep you.
He thanks you, and then he runs off and says, "Oh, thank goodness I get to cook at a real oven again." Poopy ding. I don't know why I'm reading this stuff. Habit, because I'm just trying to show you guys what it looks like. Alright. I'm just gonna make this real simple. You go down and... Because you saw by the map, if you recall, that you have to head south, right? To get to Valem, or to the Gilded Vale. So I had to head south on this map to get there. And there we go. Now Gilded Vale is open. It takes me 8 hours to get there. Hopefully not 8 hours in tape time.
Ready to sleep like the
dead.
Yeah,
me too, buddy. Not because of this game, just in general. Alright, and this is obviously going to be pretty gruesome. Yeah, that they've even rendered the flies around the corpses. It's a nice touch.
You must be one of the new settlers. Welcome to Gilded Vale. You'll be pleased to know that we've had some recent vacancies here.
Do you welcome everyone this way?
Of course, we'll need to make some inquiries first. The inestimable Lord Radric VII has taken great pains to insulate our town from Widewind's legacy. Have you ever sired a Hollowborn child?
That's a rather personal question.
And an important one, I should warn. His lordship's wife is with child and due any day now. Without his approval, I shan't be able to find you a permanent settlement. It will have to wait until after the birth. We can continue our interview then, after the bell tolls from Radric's hold to signal my lord's new heir. In the meantime, you can find temporary accommodations at the inn, just southwest of here.
Guy sounds like such a nice guy. So, that tree over there. Not everyone has accepted the measures necessary to keep the village safe ever since Lord Roderick, I can never pronounce his name right. I'm horrible with names. Roderick banished the mothers of Hollowborn. Some have taken up arms against him, and while he's been searching for a cure, he's been beset with frauds and opportunists. Okay, so I've been feeling strange.
Whatever your... But if...
You said something about Hollowborn. Kids without souls, ladies and gentlemen. So essentially, people who don't react to anything. People who, like a waking coma. That's what they're calling Hollowborn, essentially. And then they have ways to deal with that too, like putting animal souls in people, but it turns them into monsters. So this is not Baldur's Gate. Not at all. This story is much darker. I'll just screw with him. Okay, goodbye.
Keep out of...
Listen!
2 tolls. Let that be the last.
3. Gods have mercy.
It seems your arrival is ill-timed. 3 bells toll only for the death of a Radric. I fear Lord Radric's heir is lost, or else Hollowborn, and so lost all the same. You should tread carefully. Circumstances have changed a great deal.
So the king, or the duke, or whatever, he just lost his son, or his daughter, his kid. That's what the 3 bells mean. And I tell him to threaten me. He says, not a threat, only a warning. We will not tolerate threats to his kin or those who live upon his lands. So, I might get killed just for being here at this point. So what happened? Somebody died. This is affecting Lord's new offer. And then, he's basically like, I don't think you're probably not gonna end up having your land. And yeah, you should go rest at the inn, and maybe things will work out for you. Sure, man. Anyway, gruesome tree. Guy I should probably talk to at some point. Probably don't want to stay in this village. Here you can see the map. It's not too big of a place. Obviously the keep's not here. But anyway, that's the game. That is the game. That is the game in a nutshell. It gets much more complicated and a lot more interesting from here. I can assure you this is a really fun game, even despite the bugs, which so far have been workable. You can fix them. If you've got the money, I'd still almost wait for it to go on sale. $45 is pretty steep for a game like this, even though it is... I'd say it's worth it, but that's right on the edge, guys. It's still a really good game. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.